They said no creature could be tamed, until humanity walked in with a leash. The Galactic Preservation Council had declared the Vorthak homeworld off-limits for good reason. The crystalline beings who inhabited Xerion Prime were unlike anything the galaxy had ever encountered, sentient predators that consumed energy itself, capable of phasing through matter at will. They had wiped out 3 entire colonization attempts, leaving nothing but drained husks of metal and bone in their wake. Absolutely impossible to domesticate, read the official report filed by the Zephyrian expedition team. Hostile to all forms of life. Recommend immediate quarantine protocols. The Altarian Council had been more direct. They are death-given form. Stay away. Even the usually confident Nexorians, who had tamed the void krakens of the Outer Rim, had returned from Xerion Prime, with a single shaken survivor who spoke only in whispers about hungry shadows that ate our thoughts. So when Captain Sarah Chen submitted a request to establish contact with the Vorthak, the Council's response was swift and unanimous. Denied. That didn't stop her. Chen had spent 15 years studying xenobiology, with a particular focus on predator-prey relationships across different worlds. She had successfully established peaceful contact with the thornback swarms of Kepler 442b, creatures that had previously been considered nothing more than mindless killing machines. She had even managed to domesticate the notorious phase hunters of the Andromeda Cloud, beings that existed partially outside normal spacetime. But the Vorthak were different. They weren't just predators. They were apex energy consumers who viewed other life forms as nothing more than batteries to be drained. Chen studied every report, every survivor account, every piece of footage recovered from the failed expeditions. And in that data, she found something the others had missed, a pattern. The attacks weren't random. They followed a hierarchy. The Vorthak always targeted the most energy-rich beings first, the leadership, the heavily augmented crew members, those with the brightest biosignatures. They weren't mindless killers. They were selective feeders with a clear social structure. 3 months later, Chen's modified research vessel, the Persistence, dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Xerion system. Her crew consisted of just herself and an AI companion, the lowest possible energy signature she could manage while still maintaining ship operations. The Vorthak found her within hours. They phased through the hull like living smoke, their crystalline forms pulsing with an inner light that seemed to bend reality around them. Chen felt the familiar drain that every survivor had described, the slow leaching of energy from her cells, the growing cold that preceded death. But instead of fleeing or fighting, Chen did something unprecedented. She sat perfectly still in her pilot's chair and began to speak. "I know you're hungry," she said quietly. "I know you need to feed. But I also know you're smart enough to recognize an opportunity when you see one." The largest Vorthak, clearly the pack leader based on the deference the others showed, paused in its feeding. Its alien consciousness brushed against Chen's mind, tasting her thoughts. What does the small energy thing offer? The voice resonated directly in her brain, cold and ancient. Chen reached slowly into her jacket and pulled out a small device, a modified energy cell that she'd been working on for months. She activated it, and immediately the ship's cabin filled with a rich, concentrated energy field that made the Vorthak's forms brighten with hunger. "A trade," she said. "I can make more of these. Enough to feed your entire pack without having to hunt. All I ask is that you listen to what I have to say." The Vorthak leader's crystalline head tilted, a gesture that was somehow universal across species. "Continue." What followed was the most dangerous negotiation in galactic history. Chen learned that the Vorthak weren't simply savage predators. They were a dying race. Their homeworld's natural energy sources depleted centuries ago. They raided other worlds out of desperation, not malice. Their attacks on colonization efforts were defensive measures against what they perceived as invaders trying to steal what little remained of their territory. Over the course of 6 months, Chen established something unprecedented, a symbiotic relationship. The humans would provide concentrated energy sources, fusion batteries, quantum cells, even controlled antimatter, in exchange for the Vorthak's unique abilities. Their power to phase through matter made them perfect for deep space rescue operations. Their energy-sensing capabilities could locate survivors in disaster zones where no other technology could function. The first joint human Vorthak rescue mission took place in the Helix Nebula, where a passenger liner had been caught in a gravimetric storm. While human ships couldn't penetrate the violent energy fields, the Vorthak simply phased through them, located the survivors, and guided the rescue ships to safety. The galaxy watched in amazement as humanity did what every other species had declared impossible. "How?" demanded the Altarian ambassador during the emergency council session. "How did you tame creatures that consume consciousness itself?" Chen smiled from her seat at the witness table. "We didn't tame them. We understood them. There's a difference between domestication and partnership." Behind her, 3 Vorthak representatives phased into visibility. The first time their species had ever attended a galactic council meeting. Their crystalline forms pulsed with what observers were learning to recognize as contentment. The small energy things understand hunger. Their leader communicated to the assembled delegates. "They do not judge. They offer solutions. This is why we choose to stand with them." The council vote was unanimous. Humanity would be granted stewardship of the Xerian system, with the Vorthak as their partners in exploration and rescue operations. As Chen left the council chambers, she reflected on the lessons learned. Every other species had approached the Vorthak as a problem to be solved or a threat to be eliminated. Only humanity had thought to ask the simplest question of all: "What do you need?" Sometimes the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy just needed someone willing to listen and bring snacks.